Hey everybody, welcome back. Doing a Dark Dimension 4 roster video. There's been a lot of talk lately about who should you bring, what's the gear like, how long is it going to take you to get the gear, how expensive is the gear, refreshing stores, you know, all these different things. I done some kind of spreadsheets, of course, looking at, you know, how long it would take to do certain things, and I was kind of figuring out how long would it take me to get in there, And look, if you're not going to watch any more of this video and you stop right here, remember this. Do not bring Captain America into Dark Dimension 4 if you care about when you finish. For those of you leaving, okay, cool. I left you with that. Look, that is part of the culmination of about what I'm about to show you. I went through some math, figuring out based on, you know, some of this math is very loose and is based on some early stuff that we know we're going to get more gear so things can happen quicker. But there's still some constraints based on the gear. These are things we already knew, but I was a bit surprised by how much bringing Captain America actually still bumped me out with my city. I was kind of like, wow, that is really pushing me far out. So I started tinkering with, you know, how long some of this stuff would take, playing with different teams, because some of these teams you can just get through there pretty easily. Dark Dimension 4 is a different beast than Dark Dimension 3, which you really needed to bring almost like the perfect tunes. So Dark Dimension 4 really is going to be about bringing tunes that don't take forever to get built up and also still make a difference in the game outside of Dark Dimension 4. So anyway, let's go look at the spreadsheet math, and basically I did a critical path, different timelines. It's got a layout so that you can see the sequence of events, and I did different scenarios to try to show how I could shorten that duration up. And again, regardless of whether it's, you know, the days I have up front are accurate or not, it's still, even if those are shrunk, the concept stays the same. All right, so let's go check out the spreadsheet.
WolverThor.
Okay, so some of you guys have probably seen the spreadsheet that I had before where it was basically a timeline where if I zoom in here, you can see like I had these different things and how long it would take you to get the energy, the gold, all these different things to get into gear tier 15. And I've got the, you know, what date it was and how many days from that point on. Right now, when I'm shooting this video, it is right here. It is December 30th, 2020. So, and a lot of this math is based from this point forward. You can see the bold line here. That's this point forward that you're going to see a lot of stuff. So, as far as like sequence of events and how long it takes, I'll zoom in so you can see all these different things. But long and short of it is I've got different timelines here. I've used the same color format that Vidranius did. Vidranius, Notorious. Okay, hopefully you guys know what that is. And then, so that way it's somewhat familiar to this spreadsheet where, you know, you've got the different, the traits with, bio, mutant, cosmic, all that kind of different thing. So, or mystic rather. So that should be familiar. And this sheet I still, you know, advocate using for, but ultimately what you're going to find here is your gear tier 15, items are what's going to constrain you. So what I eventually did is I've got this stuff at the bottom, and this is where this all starts. So I've got this stuff at the bottom where I had, this is what I had in my bag, so to speak, 25 days into gear tier 15. Ultimately what that summed up to is you get about one piece per 25 days, meaning like you're about to get, you know, you'll get one of those, right? It's a little off, and this didn't include Battle Pass, so you know that could shrink up some, right? You know, maybe you'll get some more RNG in the store. Maybe they come out with offers or something that you're going to buy. For all intents and purposes, we're going to run with that number, 25 days based on the one piece, okay? So, you know, that's the first part of this. Then I started looking at the characters that I was kind of looking at, and then just like, in the next part of this is looking at this infographic. This is something that Punk and I put together where, you know, let me hide that circle logo so you see a little better. It shows all the characters and what, you know, biotech, mystic, skill, mutant, and, you know, how much they take of each. So you can see real quickly which ones are more expensive versus other, you know, and this spreadsheet or this infographic is really helpful in that regard. So in this sense, that's where you start playing with these things, where it's like, okay, Proxima is 72 divided by 18. So I'm just looking at, you know, the number of items that I need for G15, right? And then I take that number and multiply by the 25 days. So in theory, it will take me 100 days to get those Proxima items if I don't have any. Okay, that's all that is. I'm just looking at this character needs 4 slots, meaning that 4 times 25 is, you know, 100 days in theory, right? And this is, again, these are just the tunes I'm picking. It's how I'm starting. So it's all these different days that you need. And then I went up here, I was like, okay, again, from Redronius spreadsheet, you know, I was like, okay, well, I know I have this many and I need this many. So I copied that section over to right here so that I knew, okay, this is what I've got. All right, so this is what I've currently got. So I need to take that into account of how long it's going to take me to get certain things. So for instance, Ghost was my first tune. I don't really have any tech. So I did another formula here that basically, you know, I subtracted how much I had from, you know, what you'd need to get the number of days. So that way I was like, okay, well, here I know it's still 25 days. Here it's not 25 because I have 1. You know, same concept here with Proxima. I'm like, all right, I've got some here. So instead of the 100 days, because I have so many of these, it's going to take me less days. But then I know I want Minerva next. Well, I know I don't have any more than that. So I actually took and plugged the 100 full days in there. Okay. Hela, I had some actual items here. So I'm like, okay, you know, that reduced the 125 days to this. So on and so forth, where I'm looking at these different characters and what it might take. All right, so you get the idea of what it might take to get these particular characters, okay? And that's pretty much it. Now, this stuff, that's not how much I actually have. I was playing around a little bit with the math here, so that way you can see that Symbiote Spider-Man is actually that. I didn't have that much bio, but you get the idea, right? So why that says plus 54 will play into effect later, and I'll explain. So you see that these basically build days upon days upon days. So I'm trying to go, okay, well, I know that's what I need. So where's that in an actual timeline? So that's where I came way up here and I start plugging that stuff into my actual timeline. So I'm going, okay, well, if I know that it is December, 30th right now, and I have that amount of days, I plug that into this. So I know I'm not getting Ghost ready until about this time. So from that point, I'm like, all right, my Ghost is ready. And then I plug, well, I wanted Minerva after that. So Minerva, I put in, I've got my Cosmic here. So I put Minerva after there. And then, because she's tech. And then I know after that, I was planning on Doc Octopus. So I put him right after that. So you get the idea that I'm taking all my characters and I'm creating a finish to start relationship to these specific characters so that I can see how I'm basically determining a critical path. Meaning there might be some activities that, oh, okay, I've got a bunch of gap in between there. I can do whatever I want versus, okay, that's the constraint that I have is right there. So knowing that and getting that concept, let's blow this up. And so you start seeing, so, okay, so, and I've got this colored here. So I can, with Ghost, I can actually get started in Dark Dimension 4. I just assume it takes me a week. Maybe it'll take me less, maybe it'll take me more. But a week for the no traits. And then in Global, I've got Captain America, Black Widow, Ghost, and Sinister. I just assume, all right, well, once Ghost is ready, because I've already finished Captain America, Sinister, and Black Widow, I'm going to get in there with those specific Global tunes and finish in about a week. I'm like, okay, well now, I was talking about Thanos, Minerva, Hela, Proxima for Cosmic. When am I going to have them ready? So I was like, all right, well, Minerva's right after Ghost. That's there. Hela, I'm ready to go with Mystic, but it's going to take me, in theory, 114 days to get Hela. Okay, well that means I'm not ready to get into Cosmic until this time. And there's nothing I can do to shorten that. I looked briefly at Longshot, but Longshot still, I'm still constrained by Minerva. So I'm like, okay, or Hela. So if I'm really stuck there, it's kind of like, all right, well, I'm just sticking with this original team here. As much as I'd like to bring Longshot up, I don't have the yellow stars on them. So I'm kind of like, all right, let's just keep with this team and keep rolling. I'm like, all right, but part of that play there is, let's zoom out even further. Because what I did with Captain America, I have to wait all of this time to get Symbiote Spider-Man. And then I've got Anti-Venom. And then I've got, in theory, Carnage. And I'm like, oh my God. All right, and at that point, I had Venom and Scream back to back. And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to use Scream here, forget Venom. And then I've got my city right here, starting right after I finish Scream. And I just assume 2 weeks. Now, maybe it's quicker, maybe it's not. But all of my Legendary are finished way back here. So my Legendaries are just sitting here ready while I'm waiting for Scream. And I'm like, okay, 2 weeks for City, 2 weeks for Legendary. And I'm finishing here. It's November 11th or November 10th. And so it's almost a year from now. A little less than a year. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. What did I do? Why did I do this? Why did I use those Biotunes? And I knew it, but I didn't think it'd be this long. And I wish I would have done this and looked at this before I did anything with my gear tier 15, but I didn't. I did this after. And I definitely was like, oh my God, what did I do? What did I do? And because of this constraint on the city here, I really don't, Hela's fine. Minerva's fine. Like, who cares? I could do whatever I want here. I don't have to mess with anything because I've got so much float in here between getting to city that I don't need to start anything with global or cosmic until, around this time. So I can take as long as I want for cosmic and global because it is going to take me so long to get my city tunes that whatever. You know what I mean? And I've got my legendaries done before that. So city constraint, you know what I mean? And again, that's not anything anybody didn't know, but I was still shocked by just when you put it end to end. Like I said, this finish start relationship where, okay, I'm done with Symbiote Spider-Man. Now I can start Anti-Venom. But I'm done with Anti-Venom. Now I can start Carnage. And it just pushes city out so far, right? So that's when you start looking at, all right, what can I do to bring this back? What can I do to take this section here and bring it back this way? How do I do that? So we just started looking, and look, I did this on stream. It's now been 6.5 hours. It's probably at where, you can hear my voice starting to go a little bit. And, it's like, all right, well, what scenarios can we come up with to make this quicker? All right, so we zoom in a bit here. All right, so I'm like, all right, you know what? Assume you don't bring Cap in there. All right, right? So you are going to bring in Emma. And that's what I was doing with the plus 54 below. So it shaved off some days from Emma to get her into a little bit quicker. So it didn't take as long. So don't bring Cap, bring Emma because she's mutant. So you start global a little bit later. It's like, all right, so I start global a little bit later, but I save. You can see Symbiote Spider-Man's not here, he's here. So I'm starting Symbiote Spider-Man, or I'm finishing Symbiote Spider-Man way sooner, which is great. So then, what does it do? And then let's ignore scenario 3A here. So I leave my Cosmic alone, I don't touch it. And what does it do to my city here? All right, so I'm like, all right, look, whoa. I saved 77 days there, or 2.5 months. That's a ton of time. And because I was already done with my legendary, I can finish it right after. So I suck back all of that time. I don't have to wait for city, and I still have a pretty good city team. I still have my symbiotes. I still have Symbiote Spider-Man, Anti-Venom, Carnage, and Scream. So don't bring Captain America. Don't do it. All right? Because you can still have great teams here and finish 2.5 months, in theory, sooner than you would otherwise. So I am, again, like, I get that Captain America has defense up. I like the energy. I get it. But if you bring Ghost, she's going to put some offense down. And frankly, like I said before, you have this giant gap here to go to finish, or actually, well, really, you've got this gap at this point to finish global. But even after that, say it takes longer, you've got this gap to finish global and cosmic before you're even ready for city. So you've got a giant, what is that? 4 months that you can finish global and cosmic before you're ready for city. So who cares if it takes a little bit longer if you don't have Cap in there to give you defense up? Especially when Emma is a great tune to bring. She's awesome. She's in war. You've got all this different stuff that you can see and bring. So it's really nice, right? So the way this lays out, you really want to make sure, like I said, Emma here goes from here to here. You can start global at this point. You've got this giant gap in between global starting and city starting. So you can, like I said, 4 months to get from starting global to finishing or starting city. That's plenty of time to mess around with whatever team you've got. You don't have to worry about it. So then it's like, all right, well, is there a way to bring that back even more? You know, it's like, all right, I want to bring city back even more. How do I do that? All right, so let's zoom in again. And we play with scenario 3A some more. All right. And we've got like 3A1 and 3A2. So in this one, we keep Emma, but we drop Carnage for Scream and bring in a cheap version of either Vulture, Merc Lieutenant, or Punisher. I said Merc Lieutenant for this one. So let's actually, I don't like where we see these down here below. That's because it's distracting. So we've got this section here. So it's like, okay. So like I said, we're not playing, we're keeping, you know, what we did. This scenario is we're keeping Emma. We're only dropping Carnage for Scream, and we're bringing in a slightly cheaper city tune. So here we had Carnage before. You can see here that we've saved this much time by dropping Carnage. All right. So it's like, all right, great. And also because I'm now dropping, you know, I'm switching Scream to Carnage, and I'm bringing Merc Lieutenant in, which is tied to Minerva above. So I'm still bringing Minerva, but I can't start Merc Lieutenant till here. Okay, so that's the tie here. In this row here, or this column here, you can see you go from Minerva to Merc Lieutenant. Now I'm starting City this much sooner. You can see the gap there. I saved that much time. That's a lot of time to save. So I'm like, all right, that's actually pretty solid. I've still got a pretty solid Cosmic team. I've got a great global team with Sinister, Black Widow, Ghost, and Emma. That's pretty good. My Cosmic, Thanos, Minerva, Hela, Proxima, it's not bad. And I've still got a pretty good city team with Symbiote, Spider-Man, Anti-Venom, Scream, and Merc Lieutenant. All right, so then I'm like, all right, well, because I use Merc Lieutenant, you know, I've pushed out my Legendary a little bit. So it's like, oh, well, that actually, I ended up pushing my end date. While I pulled City up, I pushed my Legendary back. So I actually finished later than I did originally. So now I'm like, all right, well, how do I fix that? All right, so and that's how this kind of game starts going. I'm like, all right, so now I've got a new scenario here. Let's scroll all the way to the left here. What did I do here? All right, I keep Anna, and I still drop. I do the whole thing with Scream and for Carnage, and this time I do Punisher to see if that changes anything. And I'm like, okay, well, so I've got Punisher here tied to Proxima, but that also pushes out Fury, right? So again, that makes the scenario worse, all right? And, you know, Maw is a constraint over here. So it's like, all right, well, Maw was a constraint, and that has to do with Invisible Woman, which we'll get to, in case I don't use Fury. But it's like, all right, well, if I keep Fury here, I'm still got a problem, all right? So it's like, all right, even though I ditched Merc Lieutenant, and I brought Doc Ock way back here, my Nick Fury still pushes out my Legendary. So I'm like, all right, well, maybe I can fix the Nick Fury. All right, so we got scenario 4 here. Let's scroll all the way over. In scenario 5, we'll get to scenario, well, come on now. We scroll scenario 5 down. We scroll all the way back over. So now we're just going crazy. We're ditching Emma for Sabretooth. We're ditching Minerva for Longshot. we're ditching Hela for Thor, and we're ditching Anti-Venom for Merc Lieutenant. Because I'm just like, you know what? If we're bringing this thing back, let's bring this thing back. All right, so we ditched Sabretooth, or ammo for Sabretooth. So I'm starting way sooner with Global here, but it's tied to, you get Sabretooth ready here, but you still got to wait. All right, so I can actually bring this one back one. This can actually be here. I can start my Global here. Not that it matters, but I can start that deer because my Ghost is ready, my Sabretooth is ready, I'm good to go. So then it's like, all right, so like I mentioned, I'm now ditching Hela, or Minerva for Longshot and Hela for Thor. So I've got a tag team. I've got Longshot goes off the back end of Sabretooth, and Thor's way here. So Longshot becomes my constraint there. And I've got kind of a weird cosmic team with Thanos, Proxima, Thor, Longshot. I'm like, all right, that's not great, but I'm keeping my Merc Lieutenant and my Thor. My Merc Lieutenant can start right away because I've no longer got, I'm tied to Ghost and not Minerva. And then I've got Punisher here who's tied to Proxima. So my Punisher's tied to Proxima, and I can start City way sooner. I'm like, great, all right. Now I'm also ditching Fury, and I can start Invisible Woman right after Scream, so that's there. And I can start Doc Ock right after Merc Lieutenant, and Maul sucks up because I'm going to Thor. So now we're talking where it's like, all right, you know, where I had all these way back here, now I'm talking about having, I'm in this scenario, which is like, all right, so I'm now into June as opposed to when I was looking at, originally I was in November, then I brought it back to August. Now I'm in June. Now the team I'm looking at, again, they're not bad. Phoenix, Maul, Doc Ock, Invisible Woman, that's pretty good. My city's not great, but it's Symbiote, Spider-Man, Scream, Merc Lieutenant, Pun. It's like, I don't love that. It's not great. Again, you got some float because you're constrained there, so you're probably fine. My Cosmic, Thanos, Proxima, Thor, Longshot, this gap here where you're looking at, you know, essentially, what is that? 2 months, 2.5 months to finish Cosmic and City with that team before you get your Legendary going. I don't love that, honestly. That's not great. So I started kind of thinking, all right, well, can I bring that back anymore? Yeah, ditch Thor for Strange. I could bring it back a little bit more, but really it's not that much, and I'm not sure I'm loving Thanos, Proxima, Strange, and Longshot. That doesn't feel great. So I'm like, all right, well, that's the closest I could bring it by bringing this team in. That was the most I could strain it. Like, through all that stuff, do I really want to bring it back that much? Like, I don't know, maybe. And then I started thinking, well, you know what? What about what I'm actually going to do? You know, and other people might have, you know, screwed up just like me and wondered, well, how are you going to fix this, you know, Captain America thing? And I'm like, I don't know. I'm stuck with Captain America, Black Widow, Ghost, Sinister. So what can I do? All right, well, you know, Thanos, Proxima, Hela, maybe I bring Longshot in. I'm like, all right, well, I'm still constrained by Hela. I'm like, okay, that's fine. And then City, I'm like, I keep 3 symbiotes and do Merc Lieutenant. All right, that's not bad, but, you know, it's like, all right, then I'm sitting here, it's like, I can't, this gets pushed out a little bit here, where I get constrained by Doc Ock at the end of the day. It's like, all right, do I love that? No, but it's better than if I zoom way out, you know, so I'm here, I'm in these columns here versus here. So I'm saving, you know, 2 months by going with this team here. If I actually ditch Carnage and go with Merc Lieutenant, which isn't bad. And I keep Fury, I keep Doc Ock, I keep Maw and Phoenix, which is pretty good. So it's really just about, you know, well, actually, I can still keep that. This is something below where I wanted to see if I could keep Minerva. So if I zoom in again under scenario, my WolverThor scenario, I am able to, you know, finish here where I save a bunch of time. And then I started looking at, all right, well, you know, I really don't like this, you know, Longshot. Maybe I want to keep Minerva, but then that pushes out Merc Lieutenant and Doc Ock, and, you know, maybe I do that. I'm like, all right, we'll see. You know, because I didn't necessarily love this team. And then to finish it up, if I really wanted to get crazy here, my last scenario, again, I'm stuck with the global that I'm stuck with because I'm almost done with Ghost. I then I switched Thor in for Hela, so that brings things back quite a bit. And then I further screw myself a little bit by get rid of Anti-Venom and bring in Punisher, which brings that way back. But I'm still kind of constrained because of Invisible Woman. So I don't love that scenario where I'm kind of like, all right. So in this bottom scenario here, that's kind of what I'm doing. In this section here, I ditch Anti-Venom for Punisher, which brings City back quite a bit, but I'm still constrained by Invisible Woman, and I only save a week, and I don't want to gear tier 15 Punisher over, honestly, Anti-Venom. I don't like that. So for me, where I'm stuck with, unfortunately, is right here, right? So I'm stuck with Captain America, Black Widow, Ghost, Sinister, and then Thanos, Proxima, Hella Long Shot. I could probably still do something with, maybe not use Long Shot there, but he's a good tune. It's like, all right, let's keep it. And then I've got a long time to finish that group before I can get into City. And I like my City team with Symbiote, Spider-Man, Anti-Venom, Scream, Merc Lieutenant. That's pretty good. And I like my legendaries with Phoenix, Maul, Doc Ock, Fury. Fury's not great, but if I start playing around a little bit there, with Invisible Woman, maybe I could play around some. She's maybe a little bit better, but I don't know. Again, we're only talking about a couple weeks there, and I can kind of play with a little bit. But long and short of it is, what are we in it? I'm in almost 30 minutes into this thing. You can see all the stuff that I started playing around with here. It's crazy. Don't bring Captain America. He pushes out your city so far. It's not worth it. They're a decent team, but if you do bring him, your hope is not totally lost. You can still ditch, my suggestion is to ditch Carnage. Honestly, I know that, he helps the team go round. You maybe bump it out, maybe ditch Scream. I may have Carnage here, but that's probably what I'm going to do to get this thing sucked back a lot more, just so that I'm like, all right, this is going to be a little bit quicker versus what I had before. But anyway, so think before you spend this stuff. Make sure you really look into what you're doing. Captain America's not bad, but you have so much float in before you get into the cosmic. Don't waste your time with them, honestly. Bring Sabretooth, bring Emma, characters that you're gonna save and not push City so far out. So appreciate you guys stopping by. Like I said, I hope this helps. Come by the Discord, link in the description below. Hammer down that like button, notification bell, subscription buttons, all the things. I'm losing my mind. I'm tired. I've been looking at this thing for almost 7 hours now. Again, I hope it helps. So till next time, I hope you have a wonderful day.